For decades, the defense community chased a highly specific, deeply unconventional capability: the categorization of human consciousness as an actionable intelligence-gathering tool. This effort was realized in initiatives like Project Stargate, where the CIA and the Department of Defense invested heavily to operationalize anomalous cognition. But these agencies immediately collided with a core paradox. The data they were attempting to harvest was inherently subjective, deeply entangled with the operator's own imagination and cognitive biases. When analysts applied standard military intelligence frameworks to non-local cognitive reception, the systems failed entirely. Traditional signal analysis could not process a stream of raw human perception. The intelligence community needed a mechanism to separate fact from fiction. They required a rigorous, highly repeatable methodology to extract objective data points from subjective internal visions. The solution they developed was Coordinate Remote Viewing, or CRV. It was designed as a strict clinical architecture to stabilize this untamed data stream. The military approached anomalous cognition strictly as a forensic data problem. We are examining 3 pages of raw, unedited, handwritten remote viewing session logs recorded in early 2015. To an untrained observer, these pages look like a chaotic collection of scribbles, esoteric claims, and random shapes scattered across the paper. But if we look closely at the top left corner, we find specific, cryptic alphanumeric target identifiers organizing the session. This analysis evaluates the forensic benchmark of internal structure rather than the literal truth of the drawings. We can systematically compare the formatting of these notes against established historical methodologies, specifically the protocols found in the Ingo Swann archives. The scientific value of these artifacts is entirely dependent on the rigorous fidelity of the data collection process itself. In this discipline, objectivity is measured by the operator's adherence to formatting rules, rather than the content of whatever they might be seeing. The CRV protocol matrix forces the human mind to process information in strict sequential stages. This tiered approach prevents the imagination from taking over the session. A trained operator never attempts to draw the target initially. Doing so would immediately engage the analytical mind and pollute the data stream. The document begins with signal acquisition, marked by P tags on the left. This ideogram is a preconscious reflex. The operator then moves to S1 tags to isolate basic sensory data, like atmospheric height and temperature, before advancing to dimensional tangibles marked by T/int tags. An untrained person will almost always try to guess the entire target right away, bypassing these foundational steps. This step-by-step breakdown creates a necessary cognitive buffer zone. It prevents the operator from connecting disparate sensory points into a false conclusion. Notice that every single sentence fragment on this page is anchored to one of these specific protocol-mandated alphanumeric tags. This alphanumeric grid acts as a psychological scaffold, holding the mind in a highly specific configuration to allow the objective capture of non-local information. The primary threat to data integrity during these sessions is the human brain itself, specifically its evolutionary drive for rapid pattern matching based on incomplete data. This is classified as analytical overlay, or AOL. It occurs when the logical hemisphere attempts to guess the target by forcing familiar labels onto raw signal fragments. If an operator senses a circular shape and intense heat, the brain might immediately scream sun, even if the actual target is a nuclear reactor. We see this in the right-hand columns, where AOL declarations are physically segregated. Note this AOL alien flight deck. Tagging this identifies the operator's own cognitive bias, actively dismissing it to keep the primary sensory data structurally pure. We see this again with the note AOL God Watching, proving profound philosophical concepts are ruthlessly categorized as logic brain interference. This documentation acts as an active cognitive quarantine, locking away polluted data so the raw signal pathway remains clear. Untrained viewers consistently fail at this. They accept overlays as truth, narrating their own imagination instead of the actual signal. The meticulous, real-time isolation of these false assumptions is the primary method of maintaining objective analysis in remote viewing. To maintain that raw signal pathway without short-circuiting, the operator must hold a highly specific physiological and psychological state. The protocol defines this state as information coherence. It requires the active suppression of what the documents call rambunctious thoughts to maintain the integrity of the data stream. Sudden, unexpected emotional reactions to the target instantly generate significant signal noise, threatening to completely sever the telepathic connection. We can see how this noise is managed by examining the AI and EI columns, aesthetic impact and emotional impact. By writing down feelings of intellectual sufficiency or advanced control, the operator vents these emotions onto the paper, physically clearing their internal cognitive cache. Documenting the emotional impact in real time ensures that the feeling does not bleed over and pollute the next sequential piece of raw target data. This operational state is known as energetic equilibrium. It is a delicate, highly unnatural balance between non-physical reception and physical reporting. The operator is not sitting in a passive trance. They are engaged in a militant, continuous suppression of their own ego and emotional reflexes. A forensic review of these session logs confirms a remarkably high-fidelity application of standardized anomaly protocols. These 3 pages represent the raw, empirical output telemetry of a biological machine functioning exactly as designed. The documents mention an AOL alien flight deck, but that interface is best understood as a metaphor for the operator's own cognitive orientation. The true flight deck is the operator's bihemispheric brain, acting as a complex interface between entirely different states of being. Mastering remote viewing is about maintaining this internal interface, refusing to lean too far into physical reality or non-physical perception. Public perception heavily sensationalizes psychic phenomena. The actual reality, as shown in these documents, is clinical, rigid, and deeply tedious. In this framework, scientific validity is not achieved by the operator actually understanding what they are seeing. True objectivity in anomalous cognition is achieved only when the operator perfectly documents the exact psychological mechanics of how their mind processes the unknown.